Hey there, and welcome. Today, we are going to talk about menopause. But you know what? We're not going to treat it like some kind of ending. We're going to look at it for what it really is, a totally natural, really significant life transition, and honestly, the start of a whole new chapter. Hot flashes, right? Sleepless nights, those mood swings that seem to come out of absolutely nowhere. Yeah, if any of that is hitting a little too close to home, you are definitely in the right place. These are all super common signs that your body is starting a major shift. And let's be real, it can feel pretty confusing. But here's the most important thing I want you to hear today. You are absolutely 100% not alone in this. So that's what we're going to do here. We're going to demystify this whole process and figure out how to navigate it together. All right, so let's dive right in with the basics. What exactly is happening in our bodies during this time? What even is menopause, really? Okay, so at its core, menopause is simply the point in time when your menstrual cycles stop for good. And why does that happen? It's because the ovaries just naturally slow down and stop producing as much of those key hormones, especially estrogen. And I gotta stress this, it is not an illness. It's a completely normal biological process. Now, you might be wondering, when does this all happen? Well, the global average is usually somewhere between 45 and 55, but it can really vary. For instance, some data points to an average age of between 47 and 49. But just remember, that's only an average. Your own genetics and lifestyle mean your personal timeline is going to be unique. So that drop in estrogen we were just talking about, well, that's the little culprit behind the huge range of symptoms so many of us experience. So let's get into what those physical and emotional changes can actually feel like. And wow, the list of potential symptoms is long. You've got the ones everyone talks about, right? The hot flashes and night sweats that can just wreck your sleep. But then there's all this other stuff, like your joints aching, that frustrating brain fog where you can't concentrate, vaginal dryness, and, oh yeah, that tendency to gain weight right around your middle, even when you haven't changed a thing about your diet. So frustrating. Now this is so important. It is not all in your head. Those hormone shifts we've been talking about, they directly mess with your brain chemistry, the stuff that regulates your mood. And that is exactly why you might suddenly feel more anxious or irritable or even a little bit down. It's a real physical thing. Okay, but here's the thing. Menopause isn't just about the symptoms you can feel every day. Those hormonal changes also introduce some, let's call them silent, long-term health risks that are really, really important to get ahead of. And that's the key word right there, silent. Because even if you're one of the lucky ones who breezes through with hardly any symptoms, these changes are still happening under the surface. You see, estrogen has been acting like a bodyguard for your bones and heart all these years. And as it goes away, we lose some of that protection. This leads to two major things we really need to keep an eye on. First up, osteoporosis. Without that estrogen, bone loss can speed up, making our bones weaker and way more likely to fracture. And second, heart disease. The way our body stores fat starts to change. More of it ends up around our abdomen, and that can unfortunately raise the risk for heart problems and even type 2 diabetes. Now, I know after hearing about those risks, it's easy to feel a little worried. So let's just take a breath and remember this. This is a natural part of life, and it is absolutely manageable. Knowing the risks is just the first step to taking control of your health for decades to come. So what can we do about it? The good news is there are some really effective medical options out there. So let's take a fair, balanced look at the most common one. When you look at all the research, the message is pretty clear. If you want to manage the toughest symptoms of menopause, the single most effective tool in the toolbox is hormone replacement therapy, or HRT. But HRT is all about weighing the pros and cons for you, personally, and this lays it out perfectly. On the one hand, the benefits are huge. It's fantastic at stopping that bone loss and preventing fractures, plus it can lower your risk of diabetes and colon cancer. On the other hand, there are risks to consider. Combined HRT comes with a small increased risk of breast cancer for some women, and it's definitely not for anyone with a history of certain cancers or blood clots. So how does this stuff actually work? Well, it's actually pretty simple. First, it just gives your body back the estrogen it's missing, which is what tackles the symptoms head on. Now, if you still have your uterus, progesterone is added into the mix to keep the uterine lining safe. And the best part? It comes in all different forms, pills, patches, gels, so you can find what works best for you. But, of course, medical treatment is not the only option. There are so many powerful things you can do in your daily life and alternative paths you can explore that can make a massive difference in how you feel. Lifestyle is everything. This is where you can really take control. Remember we talked about bone density loss? Well, to fight that, weight-bearing exercise, we're talking walking, dancing, anything that puts gentle stress on your bones is absolutely key. And to double down on that, a diet packed with calcium and vitamin D is your best friend. For those mood swings, things like meditation or yoga can be a total game changer. And of course, quitting smoking and cutting back on alcohol will do your bones a huge favor. Now, a lot of people are curious about herbal remedies, so let's look at the facts. Soy might help with hot flashes, but you absolutely have to talk to a doctor first, especially if you have a personal or family history of breast cancer. Black Q-Hosh also looks pretty promising for hot flashes, at least in the short term. But you have to be careful. Some things, like Dong Quai, have been shown in studies to be no better than a placebo, and they can have side effects. The bottom line here, for sure, is to always talk to your doctor before you start taking any new supplement. Okay, so as we start to wrap this up, the main takeaway is this. Menopause is not something that just happens to you. It's a phase of life that you can actively manage. It's all about taking charge and finding the path that works for your health and your life. And if you are struggling with symptoms that are making your life difficult, I want you to look at this number. At least 3/4 of women feel some kind of distress. It is completely 100% normal to find this time challenging. And that's why it's so important to get support and information. So here it is, your final checklist for taking control. Number 1, talk to your doctor. Be open, be honest, and don't downplay how you're feeling. Number 2, keep up with all your regular health screenings. Super important. Number 3, really focus on that healthy diet and getting your body moving. And finally, and this is a big one, never, ever ignore irregular bleeding after menopause. Always get it checked out by a doctor. Period. So, we'll just leave you with this to think about. If you take charge of your health, if you really understand this transition, then menopause isn't an ending at all. You're actually setting the stage for a healthy, vibrant, and totally empowered next chapter of your life. So, what will that new beginning look like for you?